Have you ever had a situation when you pushed yourself, whether at the gym, perhaps working on a business project? You've been pushing and pushing and pushing. Have you ever had a situation when you looked back and you thought to yourself, you know what, I wish I didn't push that hard? What do you do when you feel like giving up? But what you want to do is you want to forget about all of that, move away from the big picture, and focus on the here and the now. This is your movie of life, ups and downs. What if I told you that weak inner voice that keeps whispering to you, you can't do it, this is too difficult, this is too painful, it's not actually you. It is just a habit. And the moment you start challenging it, that's when you start cultivating mental toughness. Now, most people, when their minds scream, you gotta stop, you cannot make this happen, this isn't possible, they simply listen to that bullshit voice. Mental toughness is about rewiring how you perceive any situation and making a conscious decision that you will keep going no matter what, right? So let's talk about mental toughness. I'm gonna share with you some of my experiences. Let's break it down so you can become more mentally tough. Now, I wanna share with you a situation that happened literally just a week ago. I was doing a 5K open water swim race. And at some point, as I was out there, maybe 1 kilometer away from the shore, I got bitten by a jellyfish. And if you've ever experienced it, it's a weird feeling, this bzzz, this strange sensation on my neck and my face. Now, on top of that, the water was very murky, you couldn't see anything, the currents were crazy strong, and over 80% of participants had to be rescued. Imagine you're swimming that direction, just to pull your head out after 10 minutes, realizing that you go backwards. That's how strong the currents were. Now, I gotta tell you what, when I was in that situation, when I got stung by that jellyfish, my mind was screaming, you know what, maybe this is a sign, maybe you shouldn't be there. It's pointless. You're trying to get to that next buoy, but you are kind of going away from it because of the currents. There's jellyfish everywhere. You've got no business being here. No one's gonna tell you that you are weak because you quit. Everyone is quitting. You see the lifeboats just going back and forth, right? Getting people back to the shore. But because of my training, I decided to override that inner weak voice. And I decided, you know what, no matter what, I'm not gonna quit. I don't allow myself to negotiate with myself. Quitting isn't an option. I'm just gonna keep going. And that's exactly what I did. Now, was it easy? No, it wasn't. But fast forward, long story short, I ended up doing 7.5 kilometers because of all the crazy currents. And eventually I managed to cross the finish line. That's when I realized that the vast majority of the participants were fished away. Now, the interesting thing about that race is that a lot of people have a misconception that I enjoy stuff like this. But I actually hated almost every single moment of that race. I genuinely hated it. Especially when you pull out your head, you think you are making some progress and you realize that the current has taken you to the wrong direction, right? But once I crossed the finish line, completely exhausted, dehydrated, right, sunburned as well. When I was rehydrating, I looked around and I'm like, you know what? I feel fucking amazing. And the reason I felt like this was because I knew that I pushed through the weakness. I knew that the weakness appeared. I knew that my lesser self started that bullshit negotiation of, you know what, you don't need to do it. It's fine if you don't complete it. It's okay if you get out of the water. But I didn't allow that weak inner voice to take over. And this is why I felt so good after I completed that race. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever regretted pushing yourself? I don't care how tough it was in that moment, but have you ever had a situation when you pushed yourself, whether at the gym, maybe in studying for your exams, perhaps working on a business project? You've been pushing and pushing and pushing. Have you ever had a situation when you looked back and you thought to yourself, you know what, I wish I didn't push that hard? Probably not, right? In the moment, you may be hating it. In the moment, you may feel like you are underslept and it's too stressful and it's too painful. But once you complete that activity, you're always proud of yourself. And you always feel this sense of fulfillment that you did your best, that you didn't succumb to your demons and to that lesser self, to this weak inner voice that wanted to negotiate the surrender, right? It feels good to do hard things and to see them through to completion. So mental toughness is really about that. It's not about not feeling fear. It's not about not feeling discomfort. No. It's similar to courage in the sense that you feel the fear, you feel pain, you don't want to do it. You really don't want to do it. But you keep pushing yourself because you know that this is the right thing to do. So I want to do something exciting now because I'm going to share with you lessons from two of my close friends who are the embodiment of mental toughness. One of them, Ollie Ollerton, is a former Special Forces soldier from the UK, the SBS, and Maria Conceição, who helped over 600 kids escape the poverty of the Bangladeshi slums. But she also climbed all the highest mountains on the planet. She went to North Pole, South Pole, did some crazy challenges like running 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days, multiple Ironman, etc., right? Okay, so let's start with Ollie Ollerton. Now, recently I went with him to Indonesia, to the Lombok Island, to climb an active volcano. It's called Mount Rinjani, beautiful place. And as we were climbing, we were doing our reconnaissance mission before the Break Point Crucible. It's an event that we are running together. He explained to me this concept of 1 meter square. So basically when Ollie was doing his Special Forces selection, he was only 1 out of 5 guys that made it. And they had over 200 people in that class. I mean, just think about the numbers, right? Like the vast majority of people never made it. And what he told me is that he always focuses on this 1 square meter because that's what you can control. Way too many people look externally, right? So, for example, during the Special Forces selection, it's so easy to look at other people and say, that person is more muscular, that person is fitter, that person is more mentally tough. But if you keep focusing on things around you, well, guess what? How can you find the mental toughness and the inner power to persevere? So what Ollie told me is that you have to always go back to that 1 meter square. What's happening in here? Because this is the only thing that you can control. So if you are going up the mountain and your heart is racing, right, and your muscles are burning, if you keep looking up and thinking, that's a long way to go, if you keep looking around thinking, everyone is better than me, guess what? You will likely give up. You'll find a way to give up. But if you just focus on what's in here, if you look down and you just focus on it 1 step at a time, 1 breath at a time, and that's it. You're not thinking about the future. You're not thinking about the past. None of this matters. You are here and now, and you focus on 1 step at a time. And you also concentrate on controlling your internal dialogue. You keep it positive. You keep it empowering. Guess what? Over time, keep building up and you'll make it happen. Whether it's climbing a mountain, whether it's a race, whether it's a business project, whether it's a presentation, doesn't matter what it is. You can focus on this. So don't get distracted by the external. Focus on what you can control, right? And primarily focus on controlling your mind because everything starts in here. Now, this is so important for developing mental toughness because way too often when things get tough, we literally look for the way out. So that example of me swimming in that open water race, well, it would have been very easy to look around and see, wow, people are getting fished out by the lifeboats. I have no business being here. Let me just raise my hand and, one of the lifeguards is going to come to take me back to the shore, right? But instead, no, I'm going to focus on this and I'm going to keep going. And that's how you succeed. Now, what I've learned from Maria Conceição is equally powerful because last year we went to Pakistan together. So Maria was climbing K2, which is arguably the hardest mountain on the planet, one of the most dangerous ones. I was there with her, and on the way to the base camp, we had a lot of conversations. Just to get to the base camp, it takes a lot of time. It's 90 kilometers one way, so 90K to get there and to come back. And even just to get to the start of the trek, you have to take a jeep, you have to go through those perilous, crazy roads. in the landslide area, and then you begin your trek through the glacier. You sleep on the glacier. You have to go through many landslide areas. It gets cold, it gets windy, it gets dusty, right? It's a beautiful place, but it's not an easy task. Now, as you can imagine, during an expedition like this, you have a lot of time to talk to one another, get to know each other. So at some point, I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. And I asked Maria, listen, Maria, you're doing all of those challenges, you're climbing high mountains. You were never a sports person, right? You kind of got into it just so you can raise money for the kids. What do you do when you feel like giving up? What do you do when you are there at Denali, for example, and it's minus 40 degrees Celsius, and you feel like you want to give up? How do you manage that? And she looked at me and she said, what are you talking about? Giving up? I never ever consider giving up. It's not even in my vocabulary. I can't possibly think about giving up. How could I give up? How could I look all those kids, look at their faces and tell them, hey, listen, I gave up, therefore I cannot help you. I cannot give up, I just keep going. And this was so profound because I realized that, she meant it. A lot of people say those things, but they don't mean them. But she meant every single word. Maria doesn't even consider that she's gonna fail. She just assumes this is it. I'm going to the summit and this is what's gonna happen, right? And it's so powerful. Now, the lesson I've learned is that the only way to develop that conviction, right, and that strength of pursuit is to have big enough why, right? Your why, your vision has to be big enough. It has to be compelling. It has to be bigger than you, right? Maria is not climbing mountains. She's not doing all the crazy challenges just for herself, to tick off a box, to have a nice picture, to put it on Instagram. No, she is doing it so she can help all of those kids from the slums. So her mission is so much bigger than Maria. And this is this internal driver that makes it impossible for her to simply give up, right? That's how Maria cultivates mental toughness. So in our lives, we have to ask ourselves, what is our why? What is your why? Why do you do what you do, right? Why is it so important for you not to give up? Why is it so important for you to see that project through to completion? And you got to figure that why out. Make it so compelling, make it so powerful, so you are driven by it and you don't even entertain the possibility of giving up. So these are two important lessons I've learned from my friends, but I want to share with you something that I've learned on my journey, specifically while doing excruciatingly long ice baths. Now, I've been doing ice baths for many, many years. I actually had a pleasure to meet Wim Hof. I stayed at his house for 7 days in Poland back in the day, and we did some incredible training. We were jumping off the frozen waterfall. We were doing those 10-15 minute ice baths. We even climbed the mountain in our shorts, bare-chested, while the snow was just falling down. Incredible experience. Now, since meeting Wim Hof, I've been trying to push myself when it comes to cold exposure. Whenever I have a possibility, I like to see how far I can go. So for example, when I was in Antarctica, I decided to walk bare-chested for the entire expedition, right? Sometimes it was sunny, but sometimes it was snowing. And I would literally, people thought I was crazy, but for several hours at a time, I would walk shirtless while everyone else had like 5 different layers on them, right? I would swim in the Antarctic water as well. And what I've learned through those experiences is that when you want to develop mental toughness, when you want to develop resilience, when you want to persevere, you really have to take everything 1 second at a time. And rather than always trying to push through the pain, you just have to accept it and just let go. Now, what I've noticed is that when people do an ice bath for the first time, they're trying to push through, right? They tense up. They're trying to get into this primal instinct. And it works to some extent. However, at some point, you just have to let go. You have to let go. So as you are sitting in that icy water and you have that feeling as if someone is smashing your bones with a sledgehammer, you just gotta let go. And actually, it's a feminine energy, just letting go. Not fighting through it, but just letting go. It's very interesting. So what I've learned over the years is that you let go And you also take it 1 second at a time, because if you can't survive just 1 second, well, guess what? You can add an extra second. And if you can do that extra second, well, guess what? Now you can do 1 more second. And over time, those seconds will add up. Now, I know that is easier said than done, because when you are there, your reptilian brain just kicks in, hey, you gotta get out because you're gonna die. That's how you feel. You feel a sense of urgency. I need to get out. But you have to override that feeling. And no, you don't want to think about the fact that you will have to stay there for another 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever your target is. But what you want to do is you want to forget about all of that, move away from the big picture, and focus on the here and the now. 1 second at a time. That's what you do. 1 second, 1 more second, 1 more second, right? When you feel like now you have to get out, well, give yourself another second. So you keep playing this game with your own mind. And I tell you what, at some point, it's going to get easier. Now, I'm talking about doing ice baths, but this applies to anything in life. For example, when you are writing a book, you may hit a wall, right? When you just can't summon the creative energy anymore. Nothing would come out. And in that moment, the last thing you want is to think about the big picture. Oh my God, I have the entire book to write. If you focus on that, it's going to get overwhelming, right? You get frustrated. It feels like mission impossible. Instead, you kind of zoom in, you get into the present moment, and you just focus on that one extra sentence. Or I should say, the imperfect sentence, because it's just a draft. You know you can make it better, but you're just trying to focus on one sentence at a time, one word at a time. That's what really matters. And if you keep doing this, eventually those words will turn into sentences, and the sentences will stack up into pages and pages and pages of content. So that's what you really want to do. Here is another example. If you are doing some type of a race, maybe it's a triathlon, maybe it's a marathon, maybe it's even an Ironman competition, right? When you feel like your muscles are burning, right? Your lungs are on fire, you feel like there's no way I can do it. Rather than focusing on the enormity of the task, just focus on the next aid station, right? I just gotta get to that next aid station. And when you see it, you slow down a little bit, you reward yourself this way, right? You get that drink, you get that gel, you get that whatever, banana, and then you keep going. And when it gets hard again, guess what? You take it 1 second at a time, 1 step at a time, and your only focus is, you know what? I just have to get to the next aid station. And bit by bit, you complete the race. That's how it works. Now, have you ever climbed a mountain, any type of mountain? You probably noticed that usually when you go to the summit, you do it at night, right? Typically, you wake up at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Depends on a mountain, because you want to climb overnight. So you get to the summit at the sunrise, right? Now, what's interesting, this is something I've noticed, and a lot of my friends say the same thing. When you get to the top, of course, the journey was tough. But when you start going back down after the sunrise, it feels so much longer, right? You look around, you're like, I can't believe I did this. This seems so much more difficult now. What the hell just happened, right? And I tell you why. It's because when you were going up at night, you were just focusing on that 1 meter square, as Ollie says. You just focused on that. You couldn't see anything around. So you just kept going and going and going, 1 step at a time. Now, when you're going down, the sun is already out. So now you can see the enormity of the task you managed to accomplish, right? So look, mental toughness is not something that is just a talent. It's one of the biggest misconceptions. Now, look, some people have more mental toughness than others by nature, right? But this applies to anything in life, right? Some people are more talented than others. But one thing you have to know is that mental toughness is something that you can keep developing. It's a skill, like anything else, that you can learn. But you become better at being mentally tough by exposing yourself to situations that require mental toughness. You don't get mentally tough by watching videos and reading books and just thinking about it. In order to cultivate mental toughness, you gotta be out there. You have to enter the arena. This is really the only way to cultivate that thick skin and to create the mindset of resilience. But I tell you what, working on your mental toughness is probably one of the best things you can do for yourself. Because let's face it, eventually life is going to slap you in the face. It happens to all of us, right? You get that phone call out of nowhere and turns out that somebody you really loved is dead. Or you've been planning so many different things for this year and then suddenly you get hit by some disease and you are bedridden for a few months, right? Or business is going great and then you realize that your business partner is a scammer. I mean, stuff like this happens all the time, right? It happened to me. I'm sure some of those things happen to you. And guess what? If they didn't, they will. This is life. It's not pretty, right? This is your movie of life, ups and downs. So rather than just waiting for those moments that require mental toughness and then just hoping that we will manage to summon it, why not purposely prep yourself for those situations, right? Why not embrace the purposeful pain? And by the way, purposeful pain isn't suffering, right? You can choose to suffer, but if you add some purpose to it, it's no longer suffering. And that's what I want you to do, right? I want you to think about ways that you can use as a leverage to toughen yourself up, to cultivate mental toughness, to cultivate resilience. It could be as simple as cutting out sugar or deciding, you know what, I'm only gonna take stairs and that's it. Or maybe doing a 24-hour fast once a week or going beyond that. Or perhaps sometimes when you go to the gym, you decide, you know what, I'll double my workout, right? So whatever you normally do, you double that. Maybe you go for a 5K run and you decide, you know what, I won't do 5, I'll do 10. I'll do a 10K run, right? Or maybe waking up one day and deciding, let me see how many push-ups I can do today, right? Whatever it is, you want to toughen yourself up. Sign up for things you don't feel ready for. For example, if there is some type of a race 3 or 5 months from now and you don't feel ready, just sign up for it. Embrace public accountability and financial accountability. Once you sign up, well, guess what? You'll figure out a way to train for it. If you are in your office and the big boss says, listen, there's this new project, I need someone to lead it. If your gut tells you that this could be a great opportunity, before you talk yourself out of it or before someone else volunteers, just raise your hand. Don't even overthink it, just raise your hand and then figure it out, okay? This is what cultivating mental toughness is all about. It's purposely putting yourself in situations of discomfort. And rather than whining and bitching and complaining, oh, you know, I'm a victim, life is tough, you embrace those situations as a training ground for becoming the best version of yourself. And I gotta tell you, it feels damn good. It feels incredible when you face obstacles that you purposely put in front of yourself and then you manage to crack them one by one. You develop so much confidence in the process. You develop this incredible self-belief. You start having that aura of invincibility, right? Of someone who can handle anything. And yes, it's hard work. It's a lot of discomfort. It's a lot of purposeful pain, but it's worth it. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, that it gave you some good food for thought. Now remember, don't just listen to it, but ask yourself, how can I implement at least one thing from this video to better myself? And by the way, post a comment. Let me know what is your biggest takeaway from this video. I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Click on the links in the description as well to get access to special bonuses. And I'm really excited to see you in my next video.